The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Across star systems, whispers spread about a human-built superweapon, one so powerful it could challenge the very fleets of the Galactic Empire. They called it the quantum-locked human battleship, a vessel rumored to be more than just steel and circuits. It was said to be alive in a way no machine had ever been before, its core synchronized with human intuition, strategy, and sheer will. Entire alien armadas had vanished without a trace, leaving only the eerie silence of space behind. On board, the crew moved with a purpose that felt almost instinctual, as if the ship itself guided them through the endless void. Unlike any traditional battleship, the quantum-locked was not just a weapon, it was a guardian of humanity's most audacious hope. The galaxy had grown accustomed to fear, surrendering systems to alien rule, believing that humans were weak, predictable, and easily defeated. But this ship and those brave enough to command it threatened to rewrite that story. The captain, a figure of quiet resolve, stood on the bridge, scanning the endless expanse. Every decision carried the weight of countless lives, and yet there was a confidence there no enemy could anticipate. Around them, the crew worked with flawless precision, their actions choreographed in perfect harmony with the ship's quantum-linked core. Each moment in space was a test of courage, strategy, and the stubborn resilience that had always defined humanity. Meanwhile, the alien commanders watched from afar, their senses scrambling to understand this enigma. The quantum-locked human battleship moved in ways that defied prediction, its attacks appearing almost impossibly fast, yet calculated with surgical precision. For every strike the aliens launched, the humans countered with an elegance that suggested not just intelligence, but a deeper understanding of the very universe they navigated. The galaxy had assumed silence was its ally, but this human creation would make them rethink everything. Every mission, every engagement, every choice on that ship was more than survival. It was a statement. Humans were no longer just defenders of their own worlds. They were becoming a force the galaxy could not ignore. And yet, for all its power, mysteries still lingered within the ship. What gave it this almost sentient edge? How had humanity managed to unlock a connection between human thought and quantum mechanics strong enough to challenge an empire? And most importantly, could even this superweapon hold against the looming threat gathering in the shadows of uncharted space? As the battleship streaked toward an uncharted system, sensors picking up signals no one could identify, the tension aboard was palpable. The galaxy held its breath. In the void ahead, decisions would be made that could change everything. And somewhere in that darkness, something or someone was waiting, ready to test the limits of humanity's greatest creation. The stage was set, the stakes higher than ever, and the silence before the storm felt eternal. The quantum-locked human battleship was more than a weapon, it was humanity's answer to a galaxy that had long underestimated it. But the first confrontation was just moments away, and no one knew if the galaxy was ready for what was coming next. Long before the quantum-locked human battleship became a symbol of defiance, the idea of such a vessel was considered impossible. Decades of research, countless failures, and the deaths of brilliant minds had littered the path. Scientists and engineers had tried to merge human intuition with artificial systems before, but the results were always unpredictable, dangerous, or outright catastrophic. What made this battleship different wasn't just its design, it was the humans who had built it, those willing to trust instinct over protocol, and to risk everything for a chance at survival. On the bridge, the crew shared glances that spoke volumes. They were not soldiers trained only to follow orders. They were thinkers, problem-solvers, and pioneers. Every member had been chosen for their ability to adapt under pressure, to read the chaos of space like a living battlefield. Their backgrounds were diverse: pilots, engineers, quantum physicists, but together, they formed a single unit, almost as if the ship itself had molded them. Some whispered that the ship's core could sense fear, hesitation, even doubt. That made it not just a tool of war, but a mirror of human willpower. The galaxy beyond their hull was both beautiful and merciless. Stars burned like diamonds against the void, but hidden among them were dangers that no sensor could fully map. Ancient wrecks of alien civilizations drifted silently, reminders of what had happened when ambition collided with unpreparedness. The humans had studied every recorded failure, every known tactic of the Empire. But no amount of preparation could account for the unknown. That unknown loomed ahead like a shadow, and even the bravest on the crew felt its weight. Meanwhile, the Empire itself was a study in arrogance. They had spent centuries believing their dominance unchallengeable, dismissing humans as a minor nuisance. Reports of the quantum-locked battleship were first met with ridicule, then disbelief, and now growing panic. Entire fleets had vanished in systems where the battleship had been sighted, leaving the Empire scrambling for explanations. They had never faced a human weapon that seemed to anticipate every move, that could strike without warning, and vanish before retaliation could even begin. In the quiet moments between maneuvers, the crew would gather in the command hub, exchanging theories about the ship's core, debating how much of its power came from technology, and how much from human intuition. No one had answers, yet they all felt a connection, an almost unspoken trust between mind and machine. Every decision became a collaboration, every action a reflection of human resilience. The battleship had become more than a project, it was a living experiment, testing not only their skills but the very limits of what humanity could achieve. But not all questions had answers. Who had first unlocked the method to quantum lock human consciousness with machinery? How had they avoided the catastrophic feedback that had ended earlier attempts? And why had the Empire remained blind to such possibilities for so long? As the ship neared the uncharted system, these questions hung like a storm cloud over the crew, and the tension only grew sharper somewhere out there, in the dark reaches beyond known space. The first confrontation waited. The humans and their creation were about to step into a theater of conflict that could decide the fate of entire star systems. Every moment brought the crew closer to the unknown. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the question remained, could human will, fused with quantum ingenuity, really stand against the forces that had ruled the galaxy for eons? Or would this bold experiment be humanity's last gamble? The first signals came as anomalies on the sensors, tiny fluctuations in space-time that the crew couldn't immediately identify. Some called them disturbances. Others whispered about a trap. The captain's eyes narrowed as the readouts flickered across the bridge, the familiar hum of the ship's quantum core seeming to pulse faster with unease. The battle ahead would not be simple. The humans had trained for conventional strikes, for evasive maneuvers against predictable fleets, but this felt different. Whatever waited in the uncharted system was adaptive, intelligent, and patient. Down in the engineering bay, the technicians were running simulations at lightning speed, testing every subsystem of the quantum-locked battleship. They had learned long ago that the ship's power was both a gift and a danger. One wrong input could destabilize the core, potentially annihilating everything within the immediate radius. As they worked, one engineer muttered about the rumors circulating across the galaxy that other civilizations had attempted to replicate the quantum locking process but failed, leaving their crews frozen in stasis or lost to time itself. The team shared a tense glance, knowing they were about to face the unknown under conditions no one had ever survived before. Meanwhile, alien scouts had already detected the battleship's approach, sending fragmented reports back to their command. The Empire's leaders were growing impatient, frustrated by what they perceived as human audacity. One admiral argued for a full-scale strike, while another cautioned restraint, insisting that the humans were more than they seemed. The political tension aboard the enemy fleet mirrored the uncertainty aboard the human ship. Both sides understood the stakes. Whoever miscalculated first could ignite a conflict that might ripple across star systems for decades. In the crew quarters, a subplot of human emotion unfolded quietly. The younger officers shared stories of worlds they had lost to the Empire, loved ones left behind, and the weight of survival. These personal stakes made every maneuver more than strategy. It made the mission profoundly human. Every calculation, every engagement, was intertwined with their need to protect not just planets or fleets, but the hope that humanity could endure, adapt, and rise above threats that seemed insurmountable. The communications officer intercepted strange signals, garbled but rhythmic, as if something or someone was deliberately reaching out. The patterns didn't match known languages, yet there was a familiarity to them that unsettled the crew. Was this a warning, a lure, or a test? The captain considered the possibilities, understanding that hesitation could cost lives but acting too quickly might play right into an enemy's hands. As the battleship closed in on the edge of the uncharted system, the tension aboard reached a breaking point. Systems hummed with latent energy, the crew braced for action, and the void ahead seemed almost alive, watching, waiting. The human ingenuity that powered the quantum-locked battleship would soon be tested against forces that defied prediction. And while the crew prepared for the first engagement, questions remained unanswered. Could human intuition, paired with the ship's unmatched technology, outmatch a force that had dominated the galaxy for centuries? Or were they walking into a trap from which even their combined brilliance could not escape? Every sensor ping, every flicker of light, every heartbeat in the ship carried the weight of the coming conflict. The galaxy held its breath alongside them, knowing that what happened next could redefine humanity's place among the stars or erase it entirely. The uncharted system stretched before them like a dark canvas, punctuated by distant stars that offered no guidance, only the eerie certainty of the unknown. The quantum-locked human battleship moved with a deliberate grace, its hull glinting faintly against the void, as if daring the galaxy itself to challenge it. On the bridge, the captain's hands hovered over the controls, steady despite the rapid pulse of tension that ran through every officer aboard. Each crew member felt at the quiet hum of the ship's quantum core, alive and aware, synchronizing with human intent in ways that no enemy could predict. From the shadows of deep space, alien vessels began to emerge, phasing in and out of detection like ghosts. Their designs were unlike anything recorded before, jagged, asymmetrical, with weapons arrays that seemed to defy known physics. The Empire had brought its finest fleets, yet here they were, appearing hesitant, almost cautious. The humans exchanged wary glances. The battle ahead would not just test firepower, it would test the crew's instincts, their coordination, and the very bond they shared with the ship. In the engineering bay, the crew worked with a tense urgency. The quantum-locked core was running at unprecedented levels, its energy fluctuating with subtle cues only the human operators could interpret. One technician noted a pattern in the energy spikes, a rhythm that almost seemed intentional, as if the ship itself were anticipating the alien maneuvers. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Every correction, every calibration, had to be perfect, because the smallest error could cascade into disaster. Meanwhile, the alien command fleet attempted their first coordinated strike. Energy beams lanced through the void, weaving toward the human battleship, but the ship responded with uncanny speed. Shields shimmered in complex patterns, engines adjusting in split seconds, and countermeasures that seemed almost instinctive threw the enemy off balance. The crew felt a thrill of grim satisfaction. They had prepared for this, but nothing could have fully prepared them for how alive the ship seemed, as though it were a living entity defending its crew with a singular purpose. Below decks, personal tensions mirrored the chaos outside. Officers whispered about lost homeworlds, siblings, friends, and families sacrificed to the Empire's expansion. Every action taken in battle was personal, not just tactical. Human courage, stubbornness, and hope were fused with the ship's unmatched technology. The quantum-locked battleship was more than steel, and Circuit was a reflection of humanity itself, daring to stand against a galaxy that had underestimated them at every turn. The alien forces, frustrated by their inability to predict the human response, began deploying experimental weapons. Distortions in space-time rippled outward, threatening to destabilize the battleship's core. The crew scrambled, countering the attacks while maintaining formation, but the tension was palpable. One misstep, one hesitation, and the entire mission could collapse. As the first wave of the enemy approached the system's core, a blinding pulse erupted from the alien fleet, and the battleship rocked violently. Alarms blared, and the bridge was bathed in red warning lights. The captain gritted their teeth, the crew bracing as they prepared to engage fully. Every sensor ping, every flicker of the alien fleet, every heartbeat in the ship drew them closer to the ultimate confrontation. The galaxy held its breath, the silence before the storm stretching taut, knowing that the moment of truth, the climax of the battle, was imminent, and nothing would ever be the same again. Just when the crew thought they had a rhythm in the chaos, the unexpected happened. The quantum-locked battleship's sensors picked up a massive energy signature emerging from the far edge of the system, one that didn't match anything in the Empire's known arsenal. It pulsed with a frequency that seemed almost alive, and for a moment, even the ship's core faltered, its quantum resonance shifting in response. The captain's voice cut through the tense hum of the bridge. "All hands, prepare for a new variable. We are no longer just facing the fleet, they have brought something else." The crew scrambled, trying to recalibrate the shields and adjust weapons targeting. Every sensor was alive with signals, but nothing provided clarity. The alien fleet, which had been struggling to anticipate human maneuvers, now moved with renewed aggression, as if emboldened by this new force. It became clear that the humans were not merely fighting for survival, they were now facing a multi-layered threat, one that could turn the tide of the entire engagement in an instant. The stakes had escalated beyond anything they had trained for. In the engineering bay, the technicians noted irregular fluctuations in the quantum core. It wasn't just energy overload. The patterns suggested an interference unlike anything previously recorded. Some whispered nervously about previous attempts to replicate human quantum integration, warning that exposure to unknown alien energy could destabilize not just the battleship but its human operators as well. Every adjustment, every calculation was now a race against time, the clock ticking louder than ever. On the bridge, the crew caught glimpses of the new threat visualizing visually an enormous structure of shifting energy, almost like a fortress built of light and darkness intertwined. It moved with deliberate intent, shifting in ways that defied conventional physics. The aliens' main fleet began repositioning around it, revealing a coordination that suggested the energy anomaly was more than a weapon. It might be a living command entity, controlling the enemy fleet with precision. The humans realized they weren't just facing firepower, they were facing intelligence, strategy, and a force that might be sentient. The communications officer intercepted fragments of signals again, this time from the new anomaly. The patterns were unsettlingly familiar, almost mimicking the rhythm of the battleship's own core. Could it sense them? Could it be reading human thought through the quantum field? Fear rippled through the crew, not because they doubted the ship, but because they realized the enemy might be using their own technology or something like it against them. Tensions rose among the officers. One argued for retreat to reassess and gather reinforcements, while another insisted that any hesitation would be fatal. The captain weighed both arguments carefully, knowing that inaction could be as dangerous as a wrong move. Every choice felt like a gamble, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. As the anomaly drew closer, the ship's core pulsed violently in response, almost as if struggling to communicate with or resist the unknown energy. Every system, every crew member, was now part of a high-stakes test of human ingenuity, resilience, and courage. The galaxy had already witnessed the quantum-locked battleship's power, but this new twist meant that the coming confrontation would not only decide the fate of this fleet, but could redefine what it meant for humans to stand against the impossible. The stars stretched endlessly before them, the enemy closing in, and the anomaly's presence casting an ominous shadow across space. The crew braced themselves, knowing the battle they had trained for had just become something far more dangerous and that every heartbeat aboard the ship would count as the climax drew closer, threatening to reshape the galaxy forever. The quantum-locked human battleship trembled as the anomaly surged closer, its energy radiating in waves that distorted space itself. The captain's voice was steady, but inside every crew member's heart raced. Brace for impact. Engage full synchronization with the core. Every calculation counts. The ship shuddered as the first wave of alien weapons collided with its shields, rippling outward like shockwaves across the void. Yet the battleship responded instinctively, its quantum-linked systems weaving a defense that was equal parts machine precision and human intuition. The anomaly loomed large now, a shifting fortress of energy that seemed almost alive. Every sensor pinged with chaotic signals, and the alien fleet used it as cover, attempting to flank the human ship from multiple vectors. The crew worked in perfect unison, each officer anticipating not only their own moves but the ship's subtle cues, allowing them to counter with precision. Energy beams collided in blinding bursts, engines roared, and the vacuum of space became a chaotic symphony of destruction and calculation. The captain made a daring decision. Target the anomaly directly. Focus the core's quantum resonance on its center. We risk everything now. The crew nodded, their fear replaced by resolve. The battleship surged forward, pulsing with energy that mirrored human determination. For the first time, the anomaly wavered, flickering under the combined force of human ingenuity and technology. Every strike from the alien fleet was counted, every strategy anticipated, until the fortress of energy began to fracture. Then came the moment of truth. The anomaly reacted violently, its energy lashing out unpredictably, threatening to engulf the battleship. Alarms screamed, and the crew held their positions, trusting in the bond they shared with the ship. A final pulse from the core, synchronized perfectly with human commands, creating a wave of energy so precise that it shattered the anomaly entirely. Silence fell across the void. The alien fleet, without their central command, faltered, retreating into the shadows of deep space, defeated and disoriented. Humanity had stood its ground, not with overwhelming numbers, but through resilience, strategy, and the extraordinary connection between human will and quantum technology. The crew exhaled collectively, relief and exhaustion washing over them. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. Stars glimmered around the system, untouched but forever changed by the battle that had just unfolded. The galaxy now knew that humans were not to be underestimated, that ingenuity and courage could challenge forces long believed invincible. Yet, just as the crew began to regroup, the ship's sensors flickered. A small unregistered signal appeared on the edge of the system, pulsing faintly in the same quantum pattern as the battleship's core. The captain froze, staring at the readout. This wasn't part of the fleet, they murmured. The crew leaned in, realizing the unsettling truth. The anomaly had not been destroyed. It had been transformed by the battle, and now it was something new, something unpredictable. The quantum-locked human battleship drifted in the silent expanse, victorious but wary. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's strength, yet the mysterious energy signature hinted at a future challenge far beyond what anyone had anticipated. The fight had ended, but the game was far from over, and a new, even greater threat waited in the darkness, waiting for the humans who had dared to rise against the impossible. The quantum-locked human battleship floated in the aftermath of the battle, the stars around it returning to their calm brilliance. The crew moved through the ship with quiet relief, checking systems, tending to minor damages, and exchanging looks of weary triumph. For the first time in months, perhaps years, there was a moment of stillness, a moment to reflect on what they had accomplished. Humanity had faced the impossible and prevailed, not through sheer numbers, but through ingenuity, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between mind and machine. The captain stood on the bridge, gazing out at the shattered remnants of the alien fleet, now retreating into the darkness of space. The human crew had proven something fundamental, that courage, strategy, and unity could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. Across the galaxy, news would soon spread of the quantum-locked battleship, the human superweapon that had defied expectation and silenced the Empire's most feared forces. Humanity was no longer just a minor player in galactic affairs, it was a force to be reckoned with, a species that could rise to the occasion when faced with the unimaginable. In the quiet of the command hub, the crew reflected on the deeper lessons of the battle. Every member had relied not just on technology, but on trust, intuition, and collaboration. Engineers had felt the ship's core responding to their thoughts. Pilots had sensed the rhythm of the battle before the enemy even moved. It was a reminder that human potential, when combined with extraordinary tools, could exceed what anyone thought possible. They had been tested in ways that transcended fear or training. They had been tested in spirit. Yet the mysterious energy signature lingered on the sensors, faint but unmistakable. It was no longer a threat in the immediate sense, but a reminder that the universe held mysteries far beyond human understanding. The anomaly had not been destroyed. It had evolved. Humanity had won this battle, but the war for knowledge, survival, and dominance in the galaxy was ongoing. The crew understood that victory was not an endpoint but a step forward. a challenge to continue exploring, adapting, and proving that humans could thrive even in the most extreme conditions. As the ship charted a course back to known space, personal moments unfolded quietly. Officers shared messages with families on distant worlds, exchanged stories of loved ones, and took stock of what they had lost and gained. The battle had forged stronger bonds, deepened resolve, and reminded everyone aboard of what made them human: courage, empathy, and the drive to protect one another. It was a victory that belonged not only to technology, but to the human spirit itself. The captain allowed themselves a small smile, recognizing that the journey was far from over. Humanity had silenced the galaxy's greatest threat in one sense, but the challenge of the unknown remained. The quantum-locked battleship was no longer just a weapon, it was a symbol of possibility, a beacon that even in the vast, different expanse of space, humans could leave a mark. And somewhere in the void, the anomaly waited, evolving, reshaping, a silent promise that the next encounter would test the limits of human ingenuity once again. The ship sailed on, steady and resolute, through the endless stars. Humanity had survived, fought, and prevailed, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget: underestimated humans could achieve the impossible. And as the quantum-locked human battleship disappeared into the cosmos, there was a quiet understanding aboard that while one battle had ended, the adventure and the challenge of the stars was only beginning.